and welcome to another episode of Mom Powers. I am your host, Coleen Krubl, and today we are going to delve into the world of homeschooling. That is something it's a new venture I'm going to be undertaking this fall in the coming school year with my son, who's turning 10 in 10 days. That's how I woke him up this morning. I woke him up saying, buddy, you're turning 10 in 10 days. But anyway, I digress. So we have three wonderful mothers with us today who have varying levels of experience with homeschooling, and we're going to just jump right in then and have you introduce yourselves and tell us about your children, and then we'll go from there. So Catherine, let's start with you.
Sure. I'm Catherine Lachman. My husband and I have just recently started homeschooling our middle daughter. So we have a 12-year-old and a 6-year-old still in public school, and we have our 10-year-old at home now. We started around spring break time, so this is very new for us. And we have previously homeschooled our oldest daughter. We homeschooled her for 2 years, several years ago. But it's a kind of a different landscape now with older kids. So.
And so your middle daughter that you're homeschooling is the same age as my son. They've been in the same class, so
yes.
Yeah. So that, and when we are in our younger daughters.
Yes,
also
our younger daughters are the same age.
We know each other because of our children. And you mentioned at one point prior to today that your husband was homeschooled.
He was,
right?
Yes.
So, yeah. But and was that like through?
He was
all the way
homeschooled
through. All the way through.
Yep, his whole educational career.
Okay. Has he talked with you much about that? Like knowing you were coming here today to talk about this?
Not in prep. I can probably represent that a little bit today. Yeah. He would probably have been a better person on this podcast than me to talk about this, but that's okay. You've got me today. So.
All right. Yeah. Melissa.
I'm Melissa McDaniel. I have 4 kids, and we've always homeschooled. My oldest is 12, then I have a 10-year-old, a 9-year-old, and an 8-year-old.
Oh,
so
close.
Had them all, and then we were done.
Yes. Yeah. Shawna.
I'm Shawna Sundberg. I have 4 children. I've been homeschooling for about 7 years. My oldest 2 went to public school, and then we pulled them. My oldest is 15, and then I have a 13-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 3-year-old.
So say that again. You have
15, 13, 9, and 3.
Kind of a big gap.
Spread out.
Yeah. All right. So I'll start here with you. You had your first child in public school and pulled, if I did the math right, when he was about 8? Is that right?
She was 9.
Or she, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Nope, I didn't say, I guess. Yeah,
okay.
Rihanna, she was 9.
She was 9. And
Yep.
so what led you to that decision?
A lot of factors. We were at the time in Wyoming. I guess that doesn't really matter. Anyways, she had difficulties in school. She has learning disorder, and then she was also severely bullied to the point of counseling needed and diagnosis of big things. But we decided to pull her one day, and I freaked out a little bit because I had no idea about anything about homeschooling. I didn't know anybody who homeschooled, and we just knew she did not belong in school. And so and then it went from there.
And you've been with it ever since.
Yep.
And so when you had your second child, did you ever give thought to, well, maybe this child would have a better experience than my first in public school, or did you just say no?
He was in public school as well. He was in first grade that year. Okay. And he wanted to leave as well. He was like, I want to come home too. I was like, you're finishing, because can only deal with one right at this moment. But then he, throughout the summer, said he wanted to homeschool, so we had him home the next year, and just kind of have kept going with it. They get a choice every year. Homeschool or public school, it's up to them. But they know that whichever one they choose, they have to see through. They have to follow it through.
And so have any of your children ever chosen public school then?
Nope. Not one of them.
All right. And so your younger 2 have never been in public school then?
Right.
Okay. All right. So how about for you, Melissa? What led you to your decision?
Neither my husband nor I was homeschooled. Didn't really know many homeschoolers until we were older and we were in college. And we met a lot of families that homeschooled, and I think we just decided from there we didn't want to send our children to public school.
Because of conversations you had with them? With the parents who did homeschool at that time?
Yeah. for religious reasons, and we didn't agree with a lot of things going on in the public schools. Yeah,
What
so,
were some of the things that you didn't agree with?
um,
If you can remember back that far.
slanted teachings, the way things are presented in schools aren't always the truth. There's always, you know, what, 3 sides to every story, this side, that side, the truth, you know.
Right.
So we like to, you know, I guess, have more influence on our children than the schools would, since the kids are in schools for, you know, 8 hours a day. So
Right.
it was something that we decided we would do for our children, and that's just what we've always done.
And so how about for you, Catherine? What about with Annabelle? So Annabelle's your oldest.
Sure. Well, with Annabelle, so she was the one we homeschooled from kindergarten and first grade.
Okay.
And that sort of started even from preschool. We developed some preschool cooperatives, and so we did kind of our own version, I guess, of preschool. And so I think at that point in time, we were both fully on board with actually maybe career homeschooling our children.
Okay.
And as it turns out, we then had our third daughter. We actually had her right at the very beginning of Annabelle's kindergarten year. So I had a kindergartner, a preschooler, and a newborn.
Mm-hmm.
And there were some difficulties. My husband was full-time employed. I was home with the kids. And so I'd never been homeschooled. It was a new venture for me. And we just had some challenges with teaching her, in particular, how to read. And I really like a lot of structure educationally, and so I had, I think, a lot of my own hang-ups about how good of a job I was doing and meeting certain milestones at that age. And long story short, due to a number of factors, when she was ready to enter second grade, I decided to go back to work. I felt like I needed to do that for myself professionally and just kind of personally. The teaching her how to read, we had done some intervention then once we enrolled her in school, and realized that maybe that wasn't all just due to myself and her relationship, but at the time I didn't know that, and so we were able to catch her up, but that took some work. And then it was also when Ellie would have started kindergarten, and we decided that was a good time. We wanted her to have that sort of kindergarten play friend experience, and she didn't have a lot of friends in her own peer group because we had done so many things with the oldest child. They're only 22 months apart, so there were just kind of a number of factors. So for us, it was sort of starting with that homeschool commitment and then recognizing that our life wasn't really aligning in a way to make that work very well.
Okay.
And then fast forward a few years, Ellie is, the simplest way to say this is, she is an introvert in an extrovert family. And so we were finding that what it took for her to get through school was really depleting her and exhausting her.
Wow.
She's very bright also. She's old for her grade. And so even though we love our teachers, we love our school, there's no ill will or hard feelings or anything like that. It just wasn't meeting her particular needs at this particular time. So we decided to try something different.